You are losing money right now. Not tomorrow. Today. Every dollar sitting in your savings account is shrinking, and you are the only one who does not know it yet. Close this video if you are comfortable with that. What follows has been quietly removed from every financial literacy course, every school curriculum, and every conversation your bank has ever had with you. In the last 12 years, inflation has erased over 30% of the real purchasing power held in standard savings accounts. That is not opinion. That is mathematics your bank chose not to explain to you. The average savings account in America pays 0.46% interest per year. Inflation runs at roughly 3 to 4%. That gap, that silent gap, costs the average saver over $200 every single month. You are not saving money. You are slowly donating it to a system that profits from your patience. But here is what nobody tells you. The people who built that system do not use it themselves. The top 1% of earners in the United States keep less than 4% of their net worth in savings accounts. The rest is deployed, moving, compounding, working while they sleep. This is not about being rich first. This is about understanding what money actually does when it sits still versus when it moves. Wealthy people learned this early. Nobody teaches it to everyone else. There is a reason for that. A person who saved $500 a month for 20 years in a standard savings account has approximately $128,000. A person who deployed the same $500 into assets, averaging 8% annual return, has over $294,000. Same income, completely different outcome. The difference between those two people is not luck. It is not talent. It is one decision, made once, about what money is actually for. But here is what nobody tells you. Saving feels responsible. That feeling is the trap. Banks design savings accounts to feel safe. Safe for you means predictable for them. They take your deposited money, lend it at 6 to 9%, and return 0.46% to you. The entire model depends on you believing that holding is protecting. You have been protecting the wrong person. Every financial advisor who told you to max your savings before investing had a reason for that advice. That reason was not your retirement. It was their fee structure. Advisors earn from managed products, not from the index funds that quietly outperform them year after year. The S&P 500 has returned an average of 10.5% annually over the last 50 years. Your savings account has never come close to 2%. The gap between those two numbers represents millions of dollars over a working lifetime, and nobody in a suit ever sat you down to explain it. But here is what nobody tells you. The issue is not that people do not know about investing. The issue is that saving feels like discipline, and people confuse discipline with intelligence. They are not the same thing. Discipline without direction is just controlled losing. You can be the most consistent saver in your entire family and still retire with less purchasing power than you started with. Consistency applied to the wrong vehicle is not a virtue. It is a slow drain. Here is what banks do not want discussed publicly. The moment you move money from a savings account into assets, even simple, boring, low-cost index funds, you stop being a source of profit for them. You become the investor. They become unnecessary. That shift from depositor to investor is the single most financially threatening thing a regular person can do to the traditional banking model, which is exactly why the education system that banks quietly fund never teaches it in practical terms. Compound interest is taught as a concept. It is never taught as an action plan. You learned the formula. You were never shown the account to open, the ticker to research, the minimum to start with. That omission was not accidental. But here is what nobody tells you. You do not need thousands of dollars to begin. The minimum investment in a broad market index fund through most brokerages is under $100. The barrier was never financial. The barrier was information, specifically, who controls it and why. The most important part of this is coming. What follows explains exactly how the system keeps ordinary earners locked in the savings cycle permanently, and what the exit actually looks like. Stay with this. There is a psychological mechanism at work here that goes beyond financial literacy. It is called loss aversion, and it is the single most exploited feature of the human brain in modern finance. People feel the pain of losing $100 more than twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining $100. Banks know this. Financial product designers know this. The language around savings accounts, protected, insured, safe, secure, is engineered to activate loss aversion and keep money still. Still money is their money, not yours. The same psychology that makes you afraid to invest is the psychology that guarantees you lose. The safest feeling option is the highest risk option over time. This is not a paradox. It is the design. Millionaires are not fearless. Studies consistently show that high-net-worth individuals experience the same emotional discomfort around financial risk as anyone else. The difference is that they act in spite of that discomfort, because they understand what inaction actually costs. You have been told that patience is a financial virtue. Patience in an appreciating asset is a virtue. Patience in a depreciating one is surrender. Your savings account is the second kind. But here is what nobody tells you. Most people already know this and do nothing anyway. That is the uncomfortable part. You have read articles. You have watched videos. You have had the thought, I should be doing something different with this money. And then you did not. That gap between knowing and doing is not laziness. It is a system working exactly as intended. The financial industry does not profit from your action. It profits from your hesitation. Every month you wait is a month of compounding returns that cannot be recovered. Time in the market is not replaceable. It is the one asset with no refund policy. If you started investing $300 a month at age 25 instead of 35, the difference at retirement, at the same 8% average return, is over $400,000. Not because of the money, because of the decade. The decade your savings account quietly consumed. But here is what nobody tells you. The people who lost that decade were not irresponsible. They were following advice. The advice was wrong. Not accidentally wrong. Structurally wrong. Built to serve a different interest than theirs. Your parents saved. Their parents saved. The advice passed down through generations was built for a world where savings accounts paid 5 to 6% interest and inflation was contained. That world no longer exists. The advice was never updated. You inherited a strategy for conditions that disappeared before you were old enough to know better. The choices that kept your family financially static were not failures of character. They were failures of information in a system that controlled which information spread and which stayed quiet. The people who understand money do not think about savings as the goal. They think about savings as a temporary holding state, money waiting to be deployed. Nothing sits. Everything is either earning or being positioned to earn. This is not a mindset for the wealthy. This is the mindset that creates wealth. The order is reversed from what most people believe. You do not invest because you are rich. You become financially stable because you stop treating a bank account as a destination. The shift is not complicated. It does not require a financial advisor, a brokerage with high minimums, or a perfect understanding of markets. It requires one decision: that idle money is a liability, not an asset, in a world where inflation never pauses. But here is what nobody tells you. The simplest investment strategy in existence has outperformed the majority of actively managed funds over any 20-year period. Buying a low-cost index fund that tracks the total market and holding it. That is the entire strategy. That is what the complexity was hiding. The financial industry built complexity to justify fees. Complexity makes products sellable. Simplicity makes them unnecessary. The best-performing long-term strategy for ordinary investors is also the one that generates the least revenue for the people selling financial products. That alignment is not coincidental. Every hour you spend in a savings account earning 0.46% is an hour your money is being used by your bank to earn multiples of that on your balance, without your participation in the return. You are the lender. You are receiving the worst terms in the transaction. The silent money mindset is not about aggression or speculation. It is about refusing to be the losing party in a transaction you did not know you were in. It is about understanding that the default option, the one that requires no action, was designed by someone who benefits from your inaction. Doing nothing is a financial decision. It has always been a financial decision. It is just one that has been disguised as safety to make it easier to make repeatedly without resistance. Here is the number that changes how you see this permanently. If every American household currently holding money in a standard savings account redirected just 20% of those deposits into diversified market assets, the aggregate wealth shift over 30 years would exceed $4 trillion, away from institutional balance sheets and into private hands. That number is why this conversation does not happen in schools. That number is why the language around investing emphasizes risk, and the language around saving emphasizes security. The framing was chosen for a reason. You are not a bad decision maker. You were handed a bad framework and told it was protection. Every person who built real financial independence did one thing differently. They questioned what safety actually means in an inflationary economy. The answer changed everything. The revelation is not a secret investment. It is not a product. It is a reframe. Safety is not zero risk. Safety is making sure your money compounds faster than your costs rise. That is the only definition of financial safety that functions in the real world. Everything else is a story told to keep your money accessible to someone else. You have two options from this moment. You continue doing what you have been doing, and the math continues doing what it has been doing. Or you make one decision that changes the direction of every dollar you earn from this point forward. The information was always available. The question was never whether you could find it. The question was whether anyone with a reason to hide it would let it reach you clearly enough to act on. You found it. The next move belongs entirely to you. The math does not wait. The market does not pause. And your savings account will keep doing exactly what it has always done, shrinking your future one quiet month at a time. That ends when you decide it ends. Not before.